Good evening. Woodrow Wilson once said, "You are not merely here to make a living. You are here in order to enable the world to live more amply, with greater vision, with a fine spirit of hope and achievement. You are here to enrich the world, and you impoverish yourself if you forget to run the errand." All of these great geniuses of the world were inspired and driven by their desire to enrich the lives of others. Edison was inspired to manifest the vision he saw on picture screens of his imagination into reality. Jonas Salk, who discovered polio vaccine, was inspired to help others from suffering from this dreaded affliction. How inspired are you in your own life? One needs to start spending time with people who are passionate about what they are doing in their lives and dedicate their best to them. With a health dose in inspiration, you will quickly raise your life to a whole new plane of living. With this background, I open the last webinar of this medical education webinar series. And today's webinar is entitled Conducting Online PBL. The resource person today is a faculty at University of Malaya. He is Dr. Foong Chan Choong, who is a senior lecturer at Medical Education and Research Development Unit in Faculty of Medicine, University of Malaya. He graduated with the first class honors in Science with Education from University of Malaya, and in the same institute, he obtained his PhD in the field of science education. He is also a fellow of Foundation for Advancement of International Medical Education and Research, PSG Regional Institute. At his institute, he has been involved in developing the university's new medical curriculum, and now he manages the program evaluation and student support of this program. He has become the personal and the professional development team coordinator. His latest project in curriculum development was developing Masters of Medical Education and is currently the program coordinator. His expertise and understanding of the development, implementation, and improvement of academic programs have made him the program quality assurance expert for Faculty of Medicine. His innovations in medical and physics education have won recognitions, medals at the universities as well as at an international level. Now, I hand over this forum to Dr. Foong Chan Choong. Over to you, Dr. Foong.
Thank you, Prof. Josna. Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank the Departments of Health Professions Education, BB Kerala Institute of Health Sciences, Dara, Nepal, for inviting me to conduct this webinar titled Conduct PBL Online. Namaste, I'm Foong. I'm from the University of Malaya, Malaysia. I would like to first introduce you to the medical curriculum so you have a better idea how the PBL is in the curriculum. It is a system-based curriculum where in the year 1 and year 2, there is a number of blocks: vascular sciences, cardiovascular, respiratory, hematology, and etc. And every week we will have some clinical immersions. All right. And every week we will have 3 hours of problem-based learning. Usually there are 8 students in a group, and the same tutor will take the whole block. Just give you an example. All right. In the cardiovascular, there's a week topic called myocardial failure, and there's a case, a PBL case tagged to the learning of the week. All right, so this is how the PBLs in the curriculum. We actually had never done a virtual PBL sections until recently. It was conventional, where we put students in a lab. Okay, they sit around tables, in a round table with the presence of tutor. We provide them with 2 whiteboards with marker pens, and they use this material to conduct a PBL sessions. This has been how it is. Okay. But due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Malaysian government has declared lockdown on the 18th March 2020. All medical students went home and they were around the country. For your information, the Malaysia is approximately twice of Nepal, and with the South China Sea separate the lands, so they are all around Malaysia. The government allows the institutions or higher education institution to resume the teaching and learning activities 1 month later, but only using online modes for the teachings. And just for information, this policy will last until the end of the year. So the institution has been using the PBL and will continue to use the online PBL until the end of the year. All right. So that's begin the story of online PBL in the institution. I'm a lecturer at the Medical Education and Research Development units. So when we have to conduct PBL online, the lecturers and the IT support teams, we brainstorm on what we have to do. And after several brainstorm sessions, we have decided in the preparations, we have to prepare the platform 1, then we have to prepare the tutors, and last we prepare the students. This is in the chronological order. Right. When we compare the various platforms, Zoom, Google Meet, and others, at the end, we decided to use Microsoft Teams with integrations of Microsoft OneNote. There were several rationales. The institutions actually has a license from the Microsoft to use the Teams, but it had been underused until when we need it. All right. So in terms of cost, it's free. Okay, this is one of our considerations. And then it is a one-stop platform where we conduct others online teaching activities. For example, the online lectures. As I mentioned earlier, the year 1 and year 2 pre-clinical curriculums have a number of blocks. So this is also the platform where we keep all the teaching and learning resources during the lockdown period. Okay. For example, the lecturers voice over PowerPoint. Okay. We want to make it just one platform for the lecturers. We don't want them to use multiple and train them to use multiple platforms. Okay. This is where the virtual whiteboard is. So when students use Microsoft Teams, they do not have to change to another interface. They can still use the same interface and work on the whiteboard. Right. Okay, so this Microsoft OneNote actually is just like, in brief, it's just like a Google Drive document where everyone who grants the permissions can work on the document. And this platform also is a place where we keep the recorded PBL sessions. and students do not have to go to other storage system to view the records. They can just use the same platform. And these Microsoft Teams also allow the administrator to organize all the groups in the same platform, okay, not managed by individual lecturers, managed by the administrator, central administrations. And the administrator then can monitor, okay, monitor whether the session has taken place or has not taken place. And leave the one platform for the records for quality assurance and future accreditations to check on what we have done during the lockdown periods. In conclusions, we chose Microsoft Teams because it's user-friendly. Okay, we think the lecturers are ready to use it, and it's cost-effective, and it is the monitoring process. It's a good records for quality assurance and accreditations. So this is why this is how we have choose the platform and set up the platform. Okay. Next, we set down and thought about how we want to prepare to do this, and then we decided to go by two ways: the guidebook and the training. The e-learning team produced a guidebook for tutors. It's a step-by-step guide so that the juniors and the seniors faculty members can both use it easily. All right. An example is that we do not ask the faculty members to download the Microsoft Teams from the Microsoft website directly. We lead them to the program website that is familiar to them. And then from the faculty website, we lead them to download the Microsoft Teams. So every step is clear and easy to follow. Okay. Next, we introduce the functions of Microsoft Teams to how to conduct a PBL. For example, how to start a synchronized PBL sections, how could we record, how we share the screen, how we use chat functions, how we use participant lists, and how we could play back the record sessions. Okay. We use a lot of pictures. We zoom in the pictures and tell faculty members where to click, where to type. And we also help the users, the faculty members, to navigate the Microsoft Teams. For example, if I'm going to take PBL Group 4 next week, so this guide will guide me how can I go to the PBL channel for Group 6. Okay. And we created a demo site for the tutors to try and error. Okay. So this is for the guidebooks. After preparing the guidebooks and encourage them to try and error, at the end, we conducted multiple live training sections for tutors using the same platform. We learned that using the same platform is very important, because then now the faculty members can familiarize themselves with the system and simulate a PBL sessions. For example, when they're about to use the Microsoft Teams for the first time, the trainer will kind of simulate the situations. The trainer at the beginning, all right, ask every attendee, could you listen to me? All right, say something so I can ensure that I can listen to you too. And then using an example, the trainer read a trigger and ask the faculty members role play as a student to respond. Okay, after several attempts, then we also realized that some possible issues, for example, background noise For example, some attendees have to shut down the cameras to have a stable internet connections. Okay, the mute and unmute. So we felt these live training sections was the sections that enabled the tutors, okay, to anticipate what are the possible issues and how to overcome it. Right. And lastly, we train the students. Similarly, we modified the guidebook for tutors and make it available for students. We asked students to try and error using the guides. And subsequently, we conducted a training for the students. Exactly like how we engage the tutors to role play as a students. Now the students are role play in these training sessions, but again, they experience, familiarize, and stimulate the PBL situations. Also through these trainings for students, we identify some, okay, wait, all right, okay, all right. And we anticipate some possible questions from students. And we also make some notes to the students. For example, the PBL section is going to be recorded, all right? And if you turn on your webcam, your faces will be recorded. And we also talk about the consent. We'll talk about the copyright. And we'll talk about the ethics of sharing the teaching and learning resources of the institution to social media. Okay. So this is also a part of the training. So through the training, we also identify a number of underprivileged students where they are at remote area or they need support in terms of purchasing the data plan package. So we align with the central institutions to provide free data package for the students. Right. So this is how we prepare the platform, the tutors, and the students, and it's ready to go. Just a recap, in the past, we use physical roundtables, physical whiteboards, and now it's virtual meeting, it's virtual whiteboards. Okay, this is an example of an outcomes in the past. It's a typical one. In the central, you will see the patient name with some demographic background, the signs and symptoms, and the results of history taking, physical examinations, okay, and the diagnosis. Okay. Here is an example of a mind map, okay, when they discuss the pathophysiology of the disease. And now, all right, the next slide would be the now, what happened. Okay, it's still quite similar. No? Still quite similar. They still use the flowcharts, maybe more colorful. Okay, maybe more colorful. All right, and maybe now they're able to type. Okay, but what in addition, what we found is that they are now sharing the videos. They are now sharing the images. Okay, with the functions in OneNote. We did not expect this, it means we did not expect them to use it, but students are now using it to enrich the discussions. All right, so they even make notes next to the picture. They use the OneNote feature to highlight what they should take notes. Okay. So after several PBLs done, we survey on the students and the tutors. Okay. I summarize the feedback from students into 4 I. Okay. The first I is internet. It seems the internet connectivity really affect how they felt about conducting PBL online. Some students had to shut down the cameras in order to get a stable connections. And maybe some devices had a poorer voice quality. Okay, so these are the barriers. And it is not a barrier at all. If they have a good connections with a good device, it then becomes an enable. And the next I is about interactions. Okay, that is the aims of a PBL, where we want students to exchange ideas and interact. Some students find it difficult. For example, how to avoid speaking at the same time. Sometimes there are silent moments because they can't see each other. Okay, whereas some find it more enjoyable. They say that it's almost no change. It's almost as similar as those in face-to-face PBL. All right, they are still discussing actively. Okay, and some say they are not sure. One or two PBL mates, when they turn off their camera, they're not sure whether they are active or passive. Some students felt it was okay. They can do the PBL online, but they miss the face-to-face interactions. The next I is about innovative. Okay. Students now enjoy sharing the screen. Okay, I think this is a complaint as opposed to when they did the face-to-face. It's harder to share the information when they're only looking at their own device and the device could not be shared. Now they can share the screen and share information. And in the past, when the discussion is great, they have a lot to discuss, the two whiteboards were not sufficient. And now with OneNote, they have a larger space. They can discuss more, provide more, share more learning materials. But they are still adapting on how to use, how to write properly using mouse or the touchscreen pad, or how to use the arrow interconnectors. They are still adapting the system. Guess what is the last I? All right. The last I is about me. Some students felt they are more comfortable at their home, at the place they are comfortable to conduct this PBL. They feel more relaxed. All right. So there are 4 I as I conclude from the feedback from students. For the feedback from tutors, the responses are actually mixed. We asked students like a skill questions. Would they now, with some experience in conducting PBL online, would they now prefer PBL online over the face-to-face? And the response are mixed because some prefer online PBL over the face-to-face. Some no, they still prefer the face-to-face, with majority on neutral. Okay, let's look at some comments. Those who like it very much, they felt it is excellent. Students appear to be more relaxed and confident, and it's equally enjoyable, informative, and interactive as in face-to-face sessions. Okay, some find okay, but they still prefer face-to-face. Okay, they apparently they were challenges. So we decided to look into more and get the more feedback, more comments from the tutors to find out what actually make the experience difference among the tutors. Okay, and we are thinking it might not due to whether it's face-to-face or virtual. All right, maybe the preparations of students and the group dynamics. Because in our context, students have some experience conducting the face-to-face PBL before they had to leave the hostel and join the PBL online. Okay. It seems if the students have a good group dynamics, they continue to be, and if students prepare for the PBL, of course the sections become more engaging. It's nothing because it's face-to-face or virtual. Okay. And we also learned that some tips in conducting PBL face-to-face. It seems that ground rules are still needed. The first day when we conduct the online PBL is actually the first day we conduct the first PBL with them to inform our expectations. Okay, even if they have to turn off the cameras, then what are the rules, a consensus that a student should have, so that we know everyone is engaging. And then the tutors still play a role to encourage and monitor participations. What's different now is the chat box. In the past, when the tutors were present, you cannot really give a personal hints, but now with the chat box, you can give a personal message to a student where you think he needs a reminder. Okay, and also in the Microsoft Teams, there is a function to raise hand, so we can avoid all students speaking at the same time, or we know who wants to speak after this. Okay. And at the same time, the chat box also sort some questions. What's challenge is that it's actually an interruptions where we have to mute and unmute frequently and wait for other people to mute and unmute. So by asking some short questions where the students can actually type, okay, maybe just a true or false, okay, maybe just what would you do, a short questions, it might reduce the feeling of like us talking to a wall. I mean, it's actually like now, okay, because I have not made this webinar interactive. So to some extent, I feel like, okay, I'm talking to the wall. But if I ask short questions where I don't need everyone to mute and unmute, I can save this response time by looking at the chat. Yeah, I'm still get some interactions. All right. And more importantly, we find the feedback for the group to improve in the next sessions is still important. Just exactly why, like what we have been doing in the face-to-face. As I mentioned earlier, in these curriculums, the tutor will be with the students for a block. A block is usually 5 to 10 weeks. Okay. My intentions to share Microsoft Teams is not because I think this is the only best options. It's just that based on the multiple considerations, at the end we opt for Microsoft Teams. We can do it through Zoom and Google Meet as well. Okay, due to to meet the institutional needs. And sometimes I felt maybe Microsoft OneNote is not the best whiteboard. Okay, then what are the alternatives? An alternative maybe is a Padlet. Okay, it's very similar. You open the virtual whiteboard, you click and you write something, or you can upload a video, a link, almost anything. And if you are using Google Meets, now Google has a Jamboard. Okay, it can still play a functions of a whiteboard. All right, and like I show you, when students try to sketch in the Microsoft OneNote the handwritings, the arrow could be in a mess. All right. I use this Mind Mister for my master student teachings, and I find it is good. It's good for us to build the mindset. If we can use Mind Mister to illustrate a flow chart, a mind map, a flow diagrams on a pathophysiology of a disease, it will look very systematic. It will look very neat. Okay. If you ask me what is one sentence to conclude my experience of design, implementing, and then evaluating the PBL online in my institutions, I would say it's actually possible. It totally overturned the previous assumptions where maybe we can't, because it's too interactive. Okay, it need to be conduct face to face only. However, there's a transitions for us for both the faculty members and the students to adapt. And every time we conduct the PBL sessions, I feel I'm adapting and I'm learning. All right. So that's all. Again, thank you, the organizer, for inviting me to conduct this webinar. All right. I shall pass to Prof. Jasna.
Thank you very much. Now we would go to the good practice sharing, and we would take up the questions from the participants in a while. Now we have our second year MBBS student, Mr. Shivam Pandey, who will share his experience on online PBL. Shivam, now the floor is.
Firstly, I express my gratitude to the HPE department of BPKHS for making me a part of this webinar. I, Shivam Pandey, a second year medical student at BP Koral Institute of Health Sciences, will be presenting the students' perspective of online PBLs in this webinar. So problem-based learning is an interactive form of learning, as Sir said, which although is directed by faculties and tutors, students are essentially in active learning state. And in present scenario of lockdowns, where student-faculty interactions are hampered severely due to lack of in-person interactions and passive online lectures, the online PBLs are the only form of interactive teaching an institution can offer. I recently participated in an online PBL organized at my institution coordinated by Dr. Pariksha Upadhyay and Dr. Ojaswi Sirchan, held from 14th to 19th of June. The tutorials were conducted on Google Meet, resources on Doodle, and seminar and group discussion on Zoom. Now, without further ado, I'd like to share my experiences. Firstly, the tutorials. The real fuel for PBL, where tutors present the case scenario to students in this phase and orient them about the objectives of that particular PBL. However, unlike conventional PBLs, triggers were presented on digital screen of laptop or tablets via Google Meet, as stated above. And frankly speaking, as a student, conducting online tutorials give an edge to online PBLs because students are more resourceful, as stated ahead. They not only have PDF books and internet on their digital devices, but also textbooks in close proximity. So in case of any impedance in the flow of ideas, which is easily searched and the flow of idea is maintained, which is pretty not possible in in-person tutorials. Also, sharing of resource materials like images and texts were a lot easier in online tutorials. And beside availability of digital productivity tools like sharing of contents on Google Meet or using our Word for note-taking and notes was advantage to some of the users, while some found it pretty difficult to work on digital platform. Secondly, I'll be talking about the resources. In this phase, the faculties give more detailed explanation of the bodily mechanisms so that we can have a better visualization of the case scenario presented. Lectures are pretty common method of organizing resource sessions during conventional PBLs, while in online lectures are substitute to lectures in online PBLs. But this method of resource session has duration limitation, a serious duration limitation. As online lectures are usually passive form of learning, distractions are common in study from home environment. So in really long resource classes, the effectivity may be lessened. So we usually had to restrict our duration of the resource sessions. Besides decreasing the duration of classes, faculties can consider sharing resourceful sites and materials, which will not only overcome the limitations posed by the lectures, but also instill the self-study culture among the participants. Finally, I'll be talking about the seminars and the discussion session. The final output of a PBL. In this phase, the students groups summarize their understandings and present them to their fellow batchmates, followed by discussions on confusions or implausible explanations they have earned during the week. And as Fernando Flores quotes, our best comes out when we have an honest discussion. This session brings student-student and student-faculty interaction to its best form. However, in my recent participation, in the recent PBL, I felt like online resource lectures, this also has some duration limitation, as simultaneously conduction of multiple PowerPoint presentations, which were done on Zoom, and followed by the discussion session. The duration was pretty long, and maintaining a concentrated mind for that long was not very possible. Probably the solution to this problem is restricting the duration of demonstrations and consequently of the seminar, so that like the resource session, we can overcome the duration limitations, or we can also fragment the session into one part and conduct the discussions in the other half. And the last option we can go through is we can upload the demonstrations on other media, like in video form or text form in some other platforms, in some other web pages, or in group discussion sites. And students can go through them at their own pace and in their own time, and conduct discussion conference only on video conferencing laptop, video conferencing platform like Zoom. Now, surely, conventional PBLs are superior to online PBLs in some aspects, like laboratory demonstrations are not possible in online PBLs, which were practiced in BPKHS. Also, technical issues like poor network and duration of the lectures were not a significant issue then. But on the other hand, online PBLs dominate in-person PBLs in factors like more active participation of students were seen than conventional PBLs. Might be because the newer generations are quite fond of the online platforms, the online chatting platforms and all, or because the resource sharing was pretty easy in this case. Now, to sum up, problem-based learning is of great importance in medical education, especially in present scenarios, where due to inability to conduct in-person sessions, institutes are shifting to online platforms. This transition has its own advantages, and alongside the limitations, we must aim to overcome the limitations and get the best online PBLs. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Shivam, for sharing your experience as a second-year MBBS student. Now we have Dr. Sneha Shrestha. She is a faculty at College of Dental Surgery, BP Koirala Institute of Health Sciences. She works as an assistant professor in Department of Periodontics and Preventive Dentistry. And she has been our constant tutor in the face-to-face as well as in the online problem-based learning. So now I request Dr. Sneha to share her experience of online PBL tutoring And maybe she would also be able to compare it with the face-to-face PBL, which she has experienced. Dr. Sneha, the floor is yours.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Firstly, thank you, Josaman, for giving me this opportunity to share my experience as a PBL tutor here. I still remember back in 2004, 2005, during my BJS course, I got introduced to PBL as a student myself in this institute. And indeed, time flies really fast. And here it's already been 6 years that I have been a part of this PBL team as a tutor for dental students from my department. Now talking about the online PBL, well, this was the first time that online PBL and online classes had been introduced in our institute because of this COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. And what I found advantageous regarding this online PBL is are that it's definitely a good learning distant learning platform for everyone, and we are more advantageous side because we're more comfortable at home, I guess, than the colleges. And another thing, I found that the students were more interactive in the online PBL sessions as compared to the physical PBL, because I experienced it myself when during the physical PBL, I am considered to be a very strict tutor. So they were not that interactive in front of me. And so this time I realized that when I put my visual off, and I found that they were really interactive in this platform. Another thing of advantage is that it's easy for them, the students, to share their ideas and communicate with their friends using the various pictures and infographics that are available in the internet through this platform, so they can grasp things more easily. Okay? And the disadvantages of this online PBL in our scenario was I found that few of the students did not have proper gadgets, like some did not have laptops, or some did not have the latest technology supporting mobile phones. So which made them not available with the Google Meet platforms, okay, and or other platforms for the online PBL and online classes. Another problem was the internet issues, okay, and some did not have Wi-Fi at their home, so they had to use mobile data, and that was also considered to be very expensive. Though the government has now the internet services like the NCEL and NTC have now introduced the internet with minimum charges for the students for internet learning. But still, students found this to be slightly expensive to use the Google Meet platforms. As for the student, they said so. And despite the mobile data purchased by the students also, there was a complaint of poor connectivity. So because of which only audio could be heard, the visual could not be seen properly of the students. And we had to use two different gadgets also for the same purpose. Few of the students were able to participate through Google Meet, whereas a few of them, despite mobile data purchase also because of poor connectivity issues, they could not attend the PBL through the Google Meet. And so I had to use another gadget and another platform like WhatsApp, and I had to use my mobile so that they could contact or communicate to the other friends who were in the Google Meet in my laptop. And also some of the students had to go to other friends' house also, or relatives' house where there was Wi-Fi because of poor internet connection. And also because of lockdown, there was no cyber cafe nearby open, because of which the problem again, I think, was more aggravated. And also some students complained of frequent electricity breakdowns because of the heavy rainfalls in few areas of Nepal, because of which they could not charge their mobiles or the laptops, and because of which also they could not interact properly. And also another thing is I myself used the Google Meet and Zoom platforms for the first time. So definitely it was kind of difficult at first. However, we did it anyways. And yes, online PBL seems to be slightly challenging, but if internet issues are solved, I think this would be a really good platform for distant learning. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Sneha, for sharing your experience. I'm sure it has been a good learning for all the participants. Now we are open for question and answer to all the three speakers. In the Q&A, I don't see any question, but in the chat box, I see one comment, in fact, by Professor Madhav Lamsal. He is the head of the Department of Biochemistry and Department at BP Kerala Institute of Health Sciences. He says this is a real innovation in medical education with student-centered as well as a democratic approach brought in about by COVID-19. So Dr. Foong, would you like to elaborate more on that? How innovations have seen its day due to this pandemic?
Okay. All right. After listening to Dr. Sneha, I find the experience over Nepal and Malaysia are actually very similar. Okay. We experienced those advantages. At the same time, we were worried of some internet issue. I think as long as the internet issue was solved, and we will be able to enjoy more interactive PBL sessions. And next, responding to the real innovations, I felt COVID-19 pandemic is still a bad thing, is still a threat, but that is open up some opportunity for us to try out things that we wanted to try. Because I'm sit in the medical education unit, my unit always want to try new things. We want to expand blended learning even more. So when this COVID-19 pandemic comes, where everyone has to do it online, the resistance just resolve, because this is the only method we can do things. And then when the faculty members do it, experience it, I think now that they slowly change and slowly changing. Yeah. So I felt I agree with Madam. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, thank you. We would like to take questions. If anybody has a question, please raise your hand. We would like to take it with the audio and video. Okay, so I see Q&A. Okay. Sabita writes, Dr. Foong, are you able to see the Q&A there?
Yeah, I just saw it. All right. I manage several programs. For some programs, I have used Google Meet, and I felt in terms of technology, I felt they are the same, because as long as the internal speed is the same, then whether we are using Google Meet and Zoom or Microsoft Teams, I explain the same. All right. What makes difference? Why at the end my department has recommended to use Microsoft Teams is because it really captures all the teaching records. Okay. And the ministry or the regulating bodies, they have told us we could not compromise the quality of teachings and learning even during the lockdown periods. And we know at some point they will come and like checks on and audit what we have been doing. So this is why we recommend Microsoft Teams. I guess if documentations is not a consideration. Google Meet is great in a way. You don't need an account. You don't need an account. You just join. Yeah. So it's also convenient for my another class where we don't really meet we only meet occasionally, then I don't mind using Google Meet. Yeah. Okay. And there's another question. Beside virtual whiteboards, can we use any other features? Okay. Like I mentioned just now, students need some time to master the OneNotes, and I guess no matter how much they can master, the flow charts they have made is not comparable when we use online mind mapping tool. But I share with you the MindMister. It just look great. It just look great. If you put a patient name at the center, let's say Alex, and you keep branching out, it's not very neat. And at the end, you can print and share it, right? Yeah. And it's not just limited to MindMister. There are also other free and purchase mind mapping tools online. Okay, I think that's my reply. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Foong. I also have a question because the learning management system is the need of the hour, because yesterday it was not that mandatory for us. You have shared your experience on Microsoft Teams, and here at BP KIHS, we are working on developing the LMS through Moodle. So have you used Moodle, or as your institutional purchase, have you been using only Teams? And if at all you're exposed to both, what are the differences?
All right. Before we adopt this Microsoft Teams, in fact we are using the Moodle base. I mean, our university had a Moodle-based system. I mean, a Moodle-based learning management system where later we have some customizations. We try to do the blended learning there. So what makes the difference is before this, the students, I mean the lectures PowerPoints and the students' PBL discussion outcomes will be took a photo. Actually, they will upload in the Moodle-based learning management system. And all the teaching schedules also in the Moodle-based learning management system. Okay, we really want to keep to one platform. We want to try to use the Moodle-based, but unfortunately, it can't. So this is why we are actually now using both. For the for some activities, we are still on the Moodle-based learning management system. While when it's come to synchronous teaching, then it's on Microsoft Teams. Yeah, at the moment we are not going to drop Moodle-based learning management system. It's still very powerful. Okay. Yeah. Is that answering your
yes, thank you very much. Okay. Because we are trying to get into the learning management system, and Moodle, since it's free, we have been kind of encouraged to use this, but the IT support needs to be there. And we are working on that. Hopefully, very soon we would be able to bring our online PBL into the Moodle system, so that students get an opportunity to discuss beyond the PBL tutorial time also. And they will be able to access all the resources from the Moodle platform. Hopefully in the future we would be able to use this system. But since you have used both the system, so I was just trying to figure out how complementary it would be to have such a such two platforms together.
Okay, maybe I can add one more point. Why we have decided now to move to Microsoft Teams to store the teaching and learning resources. For example, because we are recording every PBL sessions, we are also recording every synchronous Q&A sessions after the pre-recorded lecture. Mm-hmm. And we spoke to the IT team. Mm-hmm. If we use Microsoft Teams, all these records recordings is kept by the Microsoft. While if I keep it into my university Moodle base, I don't the university will have a difficult time to store all this. So there's another situations where why we decided not to keep the resources now under the Moodle base because of the data storage issue. We rather let the Microsoft handle this, right? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It has answered many of our queries. Okay, so till the time they're ready with their question, I would like to ask one more question. So what is the practice in the University of Malaya? Do you have PBL even in the clinical side, or is it done only for the basic sciences?
In our, for the preclinical years, year 1 and year 2, we call it problem-based learning with a paper-based patients. And when the student enter the clinical placements in the posting, we call it a different name, clinical reasoning sections. The process is very similar, but now with a real patients. Yes, we no longer call it problem-based learning, we call it clinical reasoning sections. Yeah.
So how is the process different? Is it just having a physical patient there, or even in the process it is different? So why I ask this question is many a times we discuss about now the patients may not even agree to allow for examination. So now we need to resort, even for a clinical teaching, we need to a different teaching learning methodology. So we are trying to explore and see how we can bring about these methodology even in the clinical setup.
Okay. At the moment, we don't have a replacement for the clinical reasoning section yet, because it's no longer a paper-based, and our students are not allowed to come back to the campus yet. So we are unable to conduct the clinical reasoning sections at the moment.
So it is still a challenge for all of us. The clinical teaching is quite difficult at this phase, and we are also trying to figure out how to somehow continue the curriculum or the syllabus for the clinical year students, especially in the skill the teaching part.
Yeah. At the moment, my institution is trying to, in a conventional setting, students will spend 8 weeks in posting, and in a year, they will do 4 posting. Okay. As a temporary measure, we would like to try this out. They do the theory first. I mean, that means at let's say in the medicine posting, they do 4 weeks of medicine posting, they do 4 weeks of surgery posting, where they focus on the theory first, and then because we foresee the situations now in Malaysia, we are getting get better, and at the time they will return for the clinical. There are multiple solutions, but at the moment, our final year students, they would be allowed to return to campus in July, and we are in the process. Okay. Yeah. That's all my reply to this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. There is one comment. Okay, that reads as, it's from Dr. Sabita from Pokhara. I would be pleased to know, like any physical PBL in virtual PBL, how much is the importance of face-to-face interaction, and how much is it possible to interact in the entire session?
Okay. Maybe I try to attempt to these questions. I feel the interactions, it can be as much as much as when they do the physical interactions. As I mentioned, my students, they had the face-to-face PBL before they were forced to leave the hostel, and then now they are doing the PBL online. So I can see for groups that have good group dynamic before, before they continue to have the interactions. While for some groups they have some issues with group dynamics. Yes, I think it may not due to the technology, and it also depends on the groups. I felt okay. They are always okay. They are always 8 students in a group. If everyone has stable connections, then it won't disturb the emotions, you know. But once a student like suddenly missing, or one student has informed in the chat box, sorry, no, I can't follow. All this is disturb lah, no? It disturb the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the if the internet move smoothly, I felt it's exactly like face to face. But any of the students start to have some internet issue, I think our feelings, our emotions are a little bit disturbed, and it's then out of our control already. Okay.
Thank you very much. The question has also been put to Dr. Sneha, the same question, the interaction amongst the student. Dr. Sneha, the question has been thrown to both of you. Yes.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I agree with Dr. Foong. If the internet is stable, I think there would not be much of difference in the physical PBL or the online PBL. But definitely, the physical PBL would be much more better to observe the group dynamics, what I feel. But if the internet stability is there, yes, it's also same as that of the physical PBL. Thank you.
I would like to add one more feedback from students, because now the virtual online has it might change your previous assumptions on what a virtual online PBL could be, because we told students we are going to record the sessions, and then some students say because they know they are being recorded, so they become more polite. They respect more to the ideas of others. So it's unexpected. No, I think there are good and bad. You try, then you know. All right. Okay. That's all.
Yes. Thank you. Now, I think we should also hear from Shivam. How did you feel the interaction? Though he has already shared, but it would be interesting to have this comment even from you.
Thank you, ma'am, for letting me have for giving me opportunity. So when talking about the interactions, the main issue surely in our context is internet issues, because firstly, in the face-to-face interaction we prefer, and video conferencing is more interactive than going through any chat or simply going through voice calls. If we have good internet connections, then I don't think that online PBLs stand even a step back from the conventional in-person PBLs. However, that's pretty not possible. Then in-person PBLs are better in that aspects. Besides internet connection, there can be minor issues like problems with the computer screens. For instance, while I was in a tutorial on my second tutorial, my computer screen my camera turned the whole image to be green. So that was a bit like a distraction during that time. So I believe if we overcome these two issues, online PBLs can have better interactions than those we had in the conventional, because especially talking about the newer generations who have a bit adapted to these systems of video conferencing, chats, and video voice calls, I think lack of face-to-face interaction or in-person interaction doesn't make any significant difference in the online PBL. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shivam, for sharing your experience. And I, as a PBL coordinator for the dental program, what I faced is the only challenge which is there is for the lab access or the demonstrations which we conduct in the clinic. So that was somehow compromised in our PBL, but otherwise from theoretical point of view, and even some skills like interpersonal skills, the soft skills were in fact better than the physical PBL. Even we were worrying about interaction, we were worrying about developing their interpersonal skills, but the way it was done, the way students conducted themselves in the online PBL was amazing and experience for all of us. Okay, okay, Shivam.
Excuse me, ma'am, I'd like to ask a question to Dr. Foong. It's not only very specific about the PBLs, rather we have resource sessions and online lectures continuously going on in our institutes. And we are conducting it on Doodle. So that seems something like a very one-way interaction because the faculties are explaining the topics there, while the students, all they can do is add a small text in the below comment section and ask about their issues. And if the faculties are even not able to get the point what they want to ask, or besides we were talking about the face-to-face interaction, this also lacks in the Doodle. So do we have any alternative to the resource lectures or the common lectures? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks, Shiwan, for the questions. In the past, my institutions have been doing the didactic large group teachings is one-way interactions. But since we have moved to online, the lecture actually has two components. The first component is the pre-recorded lecture. That is usually the voice-over PowerPoint slides. So we give these slides to the students, the recorded lecture to the students, and it will follow up by the second component, that is the live Q&A sessions. So before the sessions or during the sessions, students can email the lecturer or ask the questions live or type in the chat box. So then we do not have an issue on this. Actually, in fact, it's become better because in the past, no one asked questions during the didactic lecture, and now feel protected by the screen. They voice the questions or type the question in the chat box. So it become more interactive now. Okay, I hope Shivan, I answer your questions.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, you answered it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Foong, Mr. Shivam Pandey, and Dr. Sneha Shrestha for encouraging us, for sharing your experience and moving ahead for many people who are yet to start online PBL or who are already doing the online PBL. Thank you very much for your experience, and I'm sure the participants who were part of this particular webinar or people who would be seeing the recorded video would find courage to initiate online PBL in their institutes. I thank all the speakers and good evening.